Have you ever stopped to wonder, like really wonder, if the things we're so quick to label as flaws, those quirks and biases, those moments where we're utterly lost in confusion, even the stuff we believe makes up reality itself? What if, and hear me out here, what if those aren't actually mistakes? What if they're like essential threads, woven into something much bigger, something incredible? Today, we're going deep, diving headfirst into this wild concept of distortion from the law of one material. Now, before you go thinking we're getting all doom and gloom, talking about brokenness and negativity, let me clarify. When Ra, the source of this material, talks about distortion, they're not talking about something being inherently bad or wrong. It's more like a fundamental and, dare I say, beautiful aspect of how everything we know and experience comes to be. And that's precisely what we're setting out to explore today, how these so-called distortions, including our own unique biases, might actually be holding a kind of unseen power, a power we often overlook or even misunderstand.
Absolutely, that's a great way to frame it. The law of one, channeled through Ra, gives us this really fascinating, sometimes mind-bending perspective on things we often judge or resist. It's an invitation to consider bias, confusion, even the very fabric of reality itself through a completely different lens. Our aim today is to unpack Ra's ideas about distortion, explore what they might mean for us as individuals navigating this wild ride we call life, and hopefully help you, the listener, uncover some hidden gems of wisdom within your own experiences.
Love it. So let's get right to it. When Ra uses this term distortion, what are they actually referring to? Because let's be honest, for most of us, distortion usually means something is warped, off-kilter, not quite right.
Right, and that's a great starting point because Ra's use of the word is super specific, almost neutral, like it's not loaded with judgment. Think of distortion as any movement, any step away from that pure, absolute unity that is the source, the one infinite creator. Imagine for a second this unbroken expanse of pure potential. Now, for anything to exist, for any experience to happen, there has to be some kind of separation, a moving away from that singular oneness. That initial act of moving away, that's what Ra calls a distortion.
So even something as incredible and universally cherished as love, even that would be considered a distortion in this framework.
Precisely. Ra actually states, and I'm going to quote this directly because it's so important, the term love then may be seen as the focus, the choice of attack, the type of energy of an extremely high order which causes intelligent energy to be formed from the potential of intelligent infinity. This then may be seen to be an object rather than an activity by some of your peoples. This is the distortion called love. I'm curious, what's your initial reaction to hearing that?
Wow, it's definitely a shift in perspective, right? To think of love, something we associate with connection, with unity, as also being a step away from that ultimate unity. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
It really does. And again, it's not about saying love is bad or less important. It's about understanding that even our most sublime, beautiful experiences are a kind of focused expression, a specific manifestation that isn't the undifferentiated whole. And this concept isn't just limited to love. Ra suggests that the entirety of creation, every single thing we perceive and interact with, is a form of distortion. And this isn't seen as a bad thing. It's actually presented as absolutely essential for the creator to know itself, to experience its own vastness. There's a beautiful summary in the early sessions that states, the creative principle's distortions are necessary parts of the intelligent infinity's exploration of itself.
So if everything's a distortion, how do we reconcile that with our everyday experience of feeling like we're in this solid physical world? Like, how does that even make sense?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Ra addresses it with this incredibly potent statement. You are not part of a material universe. You are dancing thoughts. You are dancing thoughts. You are dancing thoughts. What jumps out at you there?
I mean, the repetition itself is powerful, right?
Yeah.
It almost evokes this sense of fluidity, like everything is in motion, constantly changing, like we're not these fixed, solid objects, but more like expressions of consciousness, always in flux.
Exactly. And those dancing thoughts, they are the conscious distortions, the way that infinite intelligence manifests and experiences itself in countless forms in all this diversity we see around us. And it's not just us humans either. Even Ra, as messengers of the law of one, they acknowledge that they strive to distort as little as possible when communicating with us. And that's super interesting because it points to distortion being inherent in any form of interaction, any attempt to express or understand something. Imagine a beam of pure white light passing through a prism. The pure light is the unity, and those vibrant colors that emerge, those are the distortions. Now, those colors, while different from the original light, are also beautiful and allow us to see the richness within that white light. In a way, distortion is like a unique signature, a cosmic fingerprint that belongs to each and every expression of the One.
I'm starting to see this whole idea of distortion in a new light, literally. So if we can think of distortion as this fundamental movement away from unity, what's the very first step in this cosmic dance? Like, how does it all begin?
That's where it gets even more fascinating. According to Ra, the first distortion of the law of one is free will, the ability to choose. And they say, in this distortion of the law of one, it is recognized that the creator will know itself. That connection, that direct link between having free will and the capacity for self-awareness, it's huge.
Wow. So are you saying that the ability to choose, to have agency, is what allows the creator, and by extension ourselves, to even realize we exist?
Exactly. It's like free will is the initial ripple that breaks the stillness of that infinite ocean of unity. It's the fundamental permission slip for individuality, for experience to emerge. And from that first distortion, from that initial choice, Ra explains, all other distortions naturally follow. For instance, they say the first distortion, free will, finds focus. This then may be seen to be an object rather than an activity. This is the distortion called love. Notice how they're presenting love itself as a focused expression arising from free will. It's like free will creates the space, the potential for all other aspects of creation to take form.
Free will sets the stage for the whole cosmic play, so to speak.
Precisely. And Ra outlines this beautiful unfolding. From unity comes the first distortion, free will. From free will comes the second distortion, love, which is also called logos, the creative principle itself. And then comes the third distortion, light, that fundamental energy that makes up our universe. And none of these fundamental aspects of existence is seen as a mistake or deviation. They are, as session 15 of Book I describes them, the primal distortions of the law of one. They're like the first essential acts in this grand cosmic drama of self-discovery.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So are you saying that free will, love, even the light we see around us, all of that is considered a distortion in this framework?
Yes, and it's so important to remember that neutral connotation. The paraphrase summary of the material puts it beautifully. Distortion is not to be seen as a mistake, but as an expression of free will. All is well. Nothing is lost. Each and every one of us, with our unique perspective, with those individual experiences that shape who we are, we represent a different angle, a unique lens through which the one infinite creator is experiencing its own vastness. Those biases you carry, your particular way of seeing the world, those aren't accidental flaws, but valuable, one-of-a-kind vantage points within this overarching unity. It's like before anything existed, there was only unity. Then there was this ripple, this first ripple of free will. And from that initial ripple, everything we know, including you, came into being. You are, in essence, a sacred distortion, a unique expression of the one.
That is profound. I mean, it really makes you think about the nature of reality, about who we are at the deepest level. And it makes me think about something we often judge harshly, our biases. If everything is a distortion stemming from free will, how does the law of one view those individual biases that we all carry? Are they something we should try to get rid of?
That's where this concept of distortion becomes super relevant to our personal lives. Ra presents bias not as something to be eliminated, but as a fundamental unique attribute, almost like your soul's signature. They say each mind-body-spirit complex is a unique portion of the one creator. Think about that for a second. Your inherent biases, those natural inclinations, the things you're drawn to or repelled by, those aren't random occurrences. They're deeply interwoven with your individual journey of spiritual evolution, your unique path of self-discovery.
So are you saying my particular way of seeing the world, even if it clashes with someone else's, isn't necessarily wrong or something I need to fix?
Not at all. Ra actually offers this really cool analogy to explain it. They say, the biases of each mind-body-spirit complex may be compared to a mirror broken into 100 pieces. Each piece able to reflect light, but in its own way. Each fragment, each bias that you hold offers a unique reflection of the ultimate truth. It might not be the complete picture on its own, but it's an absolutely essential piece of the overall mosaic of creation. And Ra goes even further, describing bias as the guiding force behind an entity's evolution, its catalyst, and its seeking. By catalyst, we mean those experiences that prompt growth. And by seeking, we're talking about the soul's inherent desire to know itself, to understand the nature of reality.
So my biases actually act like a kind of internal compass, pointing me towards the lessons and experiences I need to evolve and learn.
Exactly. They say, this bias is the direction in which the entity is polarized, and this bias determines the type of service, lessons, and experience which the entity will attract. Think about it. Your bias isn't an obstacle to overcome, but rather a compass needle subtly guiding you towards your next layer of understanding, your next step on this journey of remembering who you truly are. And it gets even more mind-blowing because Ray introduces this concept of pre-incarnative bias, suggesting that before we're even born into this physical reality as souls, we intentionally choose certain biases to help shape our experiences, to accelerate our growth. So it's not random or accidental, it's a deliberate choice made by your higher self, by that part of you that understands the bigger picture of your soul's evolution. Now, knowing that you might have chosen certain biases before even entering this lifetime, what patterns do you notice in your experiences that might point to those choices? How might this reframe some of the challenges you face?
Right? So we choose our biases before we're even born. That's wild.
According to Ra, yes, we do. And there's this dynamic feedback loop happening between your inherent bias and the catalyst you experience in life. As they explain, the more strongly an entity feels bias, the more effectively it may use catalyst. Your biases tend to attract certain types of experiences, and how you consciously process and learn from those experiences, how you integrate those lessons, that further refines and clarifies your biases, helping you align more closely with your soul's intended path. So instead of struggling against your biases, what if you approach them with curiosity? What if you asked yourself, what is this particular bias revealing to me? What is the creator trying to experience through my unique perspective? That's a total game changer. It transforms bias from a hindrance into a gift, a clue to your soul's unique quest, a guiding light showing you exactly what you need to evolve.
This is honestly blowing my mind. I'm seeing bias in a whole new way now. And it leads me to think about another experience that often feels pretty negative and unwelcome. Confusion. If bias is a unique lens and distortion is this movement away from unity, where does confusion fit into all of this?
Confusion, that feeling of being lost, those moments of paradox and uncertainty, those head scratchers that make you question everything. Ra actually presents these not as detours or failures on the spiritual path, but as absolutely essential parts of the journey. In fact, they refer to our current third density experience, this reality we're in right now, as the way of confusion. It's not a cosmic accident or a glitch in the system, it's a deliberate design
The
feature.
way of confusion, you
Yeah.
say. Well, that certainly resonates with my experience, but why would that be intentional? Why would confusion be built into the system?
Think back to that first distortion, to free will. To have true freedom of choice, to genuinely exercise your will, requires genuine choice, right? If everything were crystal clear, if we had all the answers, if we knew the exact outcome of every single action, would our choices really be free? Would we even learn or grow? Ra suggests that without the veil, there is no experience. The veil they're talking about is this veil of forgetting our direct connection to the divine, our past lives, the fundamental unity of all things. It's this forgetting that creates the space for authentic choice, for unscripted experiences, and for the polarity, the contrast, and ultimately the growth that arises from those choices. So it's the very act of navigating through this fog of confusion that allows us to fully exercise our free will in a meaningful way.
So the confusion, the not knowing, is what makes our choices matter, what allows for real learning and growth.
Precisely. It's the fog that forces us to use our inner compass, to rely on our intuition and those inherent biases to find our way. And when we experience persistent confusion, when we find ourselves hitting the same wall over and over, or feeling stuck in a loop, Rael offers this incredibly compassionate understanding. Catalyst not consciously used is often returned to the self in the form of repeated confusion. It's not punishment, it's a gentle nudge, a cosmic invitation to revisit something, to process an experience that we haven't fully integrated or learned from yet. The confusion is pointing you inward, encouraging deeper reflection instead of seeking answers outside of yourself. And even when you're feeling totally lived, overwhelmed by the uncertainty, remember this: the moment contains love. Even within that confusion, there is a deeper love at play. Try to lean into that. When confusion arises, try exploring those paradoxes, those seemingly contradictory truths you're bumping up against. Journal about them, what assumptions might be feeding that internal conflict.
Even when the confusion feels overwhelming, like I'm drowning in it.
Especially then. Because confusion often arises when we encounter those paradoxes, right? Those seemingly contradictory truths that exist simultaneously. And if you notice, Rest often uses paradoxical statements in their teachings not to make things intentionally difficult, but to reflect the inherent nature of reality. They're trying to point to something that transcends our limited, dualistic thinking. As they say, unity is not that which is seen, it is that which is. Our rational minds struggle with the concept of pure unity because it defies easy categorization. And that's where Distortion comes in. It gives form to the formless, allows for manifestation, and paradox acts as a constant reminder that ultimate truth is often multi-layered and exists beyond simple either-or scenarios. So instead of resisting confusion or fearing it, what if we learn to embrace it? It's fertile ground for growth, a sacred veil that allows for genuine seeking, a sign that the infinite is stirring within you, prompting you to wake up to a bigger reality.
Wow, this is all so beautifully interconnected. We've explored distortion, free will, bias, and confusion. And now I want to touch on another concept that often comes up in spiritual discussions. Polarity, the idea of light and dark, good and bad, service to self versus service to others. How does polarity fit into this law of one perspective on distortion?
Polarity, like everything else we've been unpacking, is understood within the law of one as a specific type of distortion, but it serves this incredibly vital purpose to act as the engine for evolution, for self-understanding. Ray puts it very clearly, the purpose of polarity is to develop the potential of the mind, body, and spirit complex in order to realize the creator. It's not a battle between inherently opposing forces of good and evil, as many believe. It's more like a dynamic tension, a creative dance of contrasts that allows the one infinite creator to experience itself through this vast spectrum of possibilities.
So the very existence of both positive and negative, of those two paths of service to others and service to self, that's an intentional part of this whole cosmic setup.
Absolutely. They say the use of polarity aids the entity in its ability to discern and thus to have the opportunity to choose more clearly between the two paths. Rain even refers to our current third density experience as the density of choice, specifically because of this pronounced polarity that we're constantly navigating. Without that inherent contrast, without the friction, there's no impetus for seeking, no fuel for transformation or evolution. Polarity, in a sense, sharpens the soul's inherent biases, providing clarity and direction on its unique path.
It's like the contrast itself makes the choices we face more defined, more impactful, and therefore more potent for growth.
Exactly. And it's super important to understand that even what we often perceive as negative polarity, the path of service to self, even that ultimately serves the law of one. As Ra explains, the light and the darkness, seen as needing to be separated, are actually one in the same creator knowing itself. That particular path, though often more challenging, requiring a deeper letting go of the illusion of separation, it's still a valid expression of free will, a way for the creator to experience all facets of itself, all possible experiences.
So even conflict and those things we perceive as negative, even those have a role to play in this grand unified design.
Absolutely, because they act as a powerful catalyst for consciousness. Ray tells us directly the polarity of the mind-body-spirit complex is necessary for the awakening of consciousness. Every time you wrestle with internal conflict, every time you're faced with those difficult choices between seemingly opposite paths, you are actively participating in the infinite's unfolding process of self-discovery. Your personal struggles, those moments of darkness, those aren't failures or deviations from some ideal path. They are evolution in motion. Try to see these apparent opposites not as enemies in a battle, but as mirrors reflecting different facets of the one infinite creator. It's within that tension, that space of contrast, that true choice, and therefore genuine evolution occurs.
This is all incredibly profound and honestly quite reassuring. If distortion is such a fundamental aspect of reality, if polarity is the engine driving our evolution, then how do we as individuals navigate all of this? How do we find balance and healing within this seemingly constant state of distortion?
According to Ra, balancing distortion isn't about trying to erase it completely or becoming some perfectly undistorted being. It's about learning to embrace those distortions with conscious love, with understanding, with radical acceptance. They say, the key to balance may then be seen in the unstudied, spontaneous, and honest response of the self to all catalyst. It's about cultivating authentic self-awareness without harsh judgment, without trying to suppress or deny parts of yourself. Ra sums it up beautifully. The process of balancing is the process of accepting the self.
So it's more about integration, about wholeness, rather than striving for some idealized state of perfection where all distortions are gone.
Exactly. Ray often talks about the energy centers within us, what we commonly know as chakras, and how distortions can manifest as imbalances within these energetic focal points. The path toward balance involves consciously witnessing both poles of those energies associated with each center. So, for example, feeling the tension between control and surrender, or exploring the spectrum between fear and courage, anger and forgiveness. The practice they recommend is to deliberately observe your thoughts, your words, your actions in each moment, and then consciously choose to experience the opposite distortion until you find a sense of equilibrium, a sense of inner harmony. It's not about suppressing one side of the polarity, but about actively engaging with the other, finding a kind of dance between them.
It sounds like an ongoing process, a conscious choice we make in each moment to bring balance to the different aspects of ourselves.
Absolutely. And absolutely central to this journey of healing and balancing is self-forgiveness. As Ra states, forgiveness of self and of other self is the great healer. Even your deepest, darkest distortions, when viewed with compassion and understanding, can become powerful opportunities for growth and transformation. Instead of seeing them as broken parts of yourself that need to be fixed or eradicated, try to see them as sacred patterns longing to be seen, to be felt, to be loved. True healing arises from witnessing yourself with genuine compassion, and lasting balance is found by meeting your shadows not with judgment, but with the gentle light of understanding. You are not a problem to be solved, my friend. You are a complex and beautiful symphony of distortions that is constantly seeking to harmonize.
This exploration of distortion has taken us on quite a journey, revealing some profound truths about ourselves and reality itself. So even with all this talk about distortion, bias, and polarity, what is the ultimate underlying reality according to the law of one? What's the foundation upon which everything else rests?
The ultimate reality, the ground of all being, is unity. Ross states this unequivocally. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love light, light love. You are. Even amidst all those layers of distortion, amidst that powerful illusion of separation that we experience, we are all interconnected, all part of the one infinite creator. And despite the challenges, the confusions, the perceived setbacks on your journey, there is this unwavering truth. All is well, nothing is lost, all is harvested. Everything serves a purpose, everything contributes to the grand unfolding.
So this feeling of being separate, of being an individual, that's ultimately an illusion.
Exactly. It's a necessary illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. The illusion is designed to allow the creator to know itself. The boundaries are illusions. They are there for the creator to explore the creator. You're not a fragmented being striving to become whole. You are already whole. You are the infinite creator engaged in this grand cosmic game of hide and seek with itself, exploring its own boundless nature through countless forms and perspectives. Distortion is like the dream we're all collectively dreaming, and unity is the eternal dreamer. And eventually, all paths, even those that seem to wander far from love, will ultimately return to the source. That which is not of love light shall be seen and then healed, as it is accepted by the self as part of the self. True healing is simply remembering who you are, realizing that nothing is truly separate from the one. Distortion isn't the opposite of unity, it's unity in motion, the infinite expressing itself in dynamic and creative ways.
That brings us full circle in our understanding of distortion. It's not something to be feared or resisted, but something to be embraced as a fundamental aspect of the creative process itself. So how can this knowledge practically impact our lives, especially for those of us who are on a path of seeking truth and understanding?
This understanding invites us to live more consciously, more compassionately, to embody this truth in our everyday lives. As Rob beautifully states, each entity is the creator. The entity, as it becomes more and more aware of itself, gradually comes to the turning point at which it determines to seek the truth that is within. The spiritual journey is essentially the creator awakening to itself within the dream of individual experience. You, my friend, are already on that journey. And Ross speaks about cultivating the discipline of the personality, which isn't about rigid control or suppressing your natural tendencies. It's about attuning yourself to truth, to love, to unity in all that you do.
So it's about how we choose to approach our thoughts, our feelings, our interactions with others, all of it.
Exactly. The seeker seeks the one. The one is to be sought by the balanced and self-accepting entity which proceeds from stage to stage of realization. You now have a deeper understanding that your biases are not limitations, but unique perspectives, valuable facets of your soul's expression. The invitation is to live them consciously, with love and understanding. Don't try to force them away or pretend they don't exist. Explore them with curiosity. Allow them to guide you. Remember those powerful words from Ra. There is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love light, light love, the infinite creator. When you feel triggered, see those emotional reactions as teachers. When you encounter those paradoxes, view them as portals to deeper truth. And when you find yourself in confusion, embrace it as fertile ground for awakening. Integrate these concepts into your daily life with humility, with humor, with an open heart. Practices like meditation and contemplation can be powerful allies in cultivating a broader perspective. It's not about achieving some perfect state of undistortion. It's about presence, about kindness, about being willing to remember who you truly are moment to moment. Distortion is not something to overcome, it's something to dance with. Your bias is a breadcrumb trail left by your soul. Confusion is the fertile ground where awakening takes root, and polarity is what gives shape and definition to the infinite expression of love. You are, in your very essence, Dancing Thoughts, a unique and beautiful song being sung by the infinite to itself.
So to weave together the threads of our exploration today, we've seen how distortion, from the perspective of the law of one, is not some negative deviation from an ideal state, but rather the fundamental lens through which infinite unity manifests and experiences itself. We explored free will as the first distortion, giving rise to our individual biases as unique soul signatures. We saw how confusion acts as a necessary catalyst for growth and evolution. We examined polarity as the engine of that evolution, the dance of contrasts that fuels our expansion, and ultimately we remembered the profound and comforting truth of our inherent unity with all that is.
Absolutely. And with that deeper understanding, we leave you with this. How might recognizing your own inherent biases not as limitations, but as unique and valuable perspectives shift the way you navigate your experiences and connect with others? And how can you reframe those moments of confusion not as obstacles, but as invitations to explore a more expansive reality, a deeper truth?
Such powerful reflections to carry with us. And if this deep dive has resonated with you, if this message has touched your heart, consider sharing it with someone else who might benefit from this perspective. You never know who might be ready to remember their own inherent wholeness. Until our next exploration together, may you walk gently with understanding through your own unique distortions, and may you shine your beautiful light brightly in the world. Namaste. This has been a deep dive into the unseen power of bias and distortion, making peace with paradox, living unity through the lens of the many.